Alright, so it turns out that stealing a bead of Lerasium without the permission of the owner and then burning it is a really bad idea. So I'm on the run, and I decided to come to the safest place I could think of, which is Roshar. Not the Shattered Plains, but that's where I ended up. The people that were chasing me were swearing by the name of the god beyond the whole time. So after I got somewhere safe and did some observationalizing about the nature of the Cosmere, I started thinking, like, what is the god beyond?
As far as Cosmere religions go, we have very little to go off of for this god. Religions play a huge role in the different cultures of the Cosmere, and a decent amount of time in the books is dedicated to learning about these belief systems. Vorinism, Survivorism, the Path, Sliverism, and many others have shaped characters and societies. What's fascinating about religion in the Cosmere is that despite all Cosmere-aware characters recognizing that there are multiple shards, multiple gods, some of which are dead, they can still believe in a being above these gods who's not necessarily Adonalsium.
Before moving on, I think we should compile and define what we know about Adonalsium so we can be talking about him in the same terms and framework.
Adonalsium was a being or entity of vast power. All investiture can be traced back to it, and it is considered by some the god of the Cosmere. Sometime on Yolen, a group of people thought, for various and differing reasons, that Adonalsium must be killed or destroyed. Anyway, there was a god, Adonalsium. I don't know if it was a force or a being, though I suspect the latter. 16 people together killed Adonalsium, ripping it apart and dividing its essence between them, becoming the first who ascended. They were a diverse group, she said, with equally diverse motives. Some wished for the power, others saw killing Adonalsium as the only good option left to them. Together they murdered a deity and became divine themselves.
This group of at least 17 individuals used a weapon, probably derived from the Dawnshards, to kill or shatter Adonalsium. Hoid and the original 16 vessels of the shards were included in this group.
Ah, those words. I've heard those words. I've said those words. The words that proclaim in bald-faced arrogance, I don't trust you to make your own decisions. The words we pretend will soften the blow, yet instead layer condescension on top of already existent pain, like dirt on a corpse. Oh yes, I've said those words. I've said them with 16 other people, in fact.
This group is also the source of some confusion. They've been called the opposition to Adonalsium, which early on people had interpreted as being a being on the same level as Adonalsium, just his opposite.
This opposition confusion is understandable given the focus in the Cosmere on opposites, pushes and pulls. However, there isn't really anything to indicate that an anti-Adonalsium exists. Adonalsium seems to have been the embodiment of both push and pull, matter and antimatter, investiture and anti-investiture. Back in 2014, Brandon wrote in a signed book that there was a weapon created by the opposition of Adonalsium. However, Brandon later clarified that people were focused too much on the concept of an anti-Adonalsium being or force. In 2016, he said the following.
You are focusing too much on this idea of an anti-Adonalsium.
Okay.
I believe, as the original question was asked to me, is saying, is there a force that is opposed to Adonalsium?
Yep.
And it left me a lot of wiggle room. In other words, the people who killed Adonalsium, you could say are a force. Any person who opposed Adonalsium. So what they were trying to get at is there a devil. But to do that, you have to assume that Adonalsium was a more sort of Christian-style god, and I haven't confirmed any of that, okay?
Most questions about the god beyond, and the beyond for that matter, have been raffoed by the Raffo man himself.
You talking about me?
No, no, I'm talking about Brandon. Why would I be talking about you?
Oh, okay then.
Adonalsium created and designed some of the Cosmere's more exotic features. It was the driving force of creation in the Cosmere. Planets like Roshar, Canticle, and Taldane were all deliberately created by Adonalsium. Basically, wherever there's some janky physics going on, Adonalsium is probably the cause. At Dragonsteel 2023, we got a frankly bonkers wob about megastructures in the Cosmere.
So, what's up with Canticle? You've got, like, the sunlight, it appears to be invested, and then, like, the plant's core is, like, trying to suck it up and eat it all. Like, where does it go after it does that, and, like, what's with that?
Yeah, Canticle was built for a very specific purpose by a very powerful being in the Cosmere that I will someday get to. You're going to see some more stuff like this. Basically megastructures that imitate planets or other sort of heavenly bodies.
Right. And so it's not like some avatar of autonomy or something like that.
It's not an avatar of anything. It was built for a specific purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just wait till I get to the grand apparatus. You're going to love that. What was that voice that talked about a future Cosmere planet?
Is this mysterious, powerful being Adonalsium, or someone we haven't yet met in the Cosmere? I don't really know what to think because this WOB was at a spoiler Q&A, so why wouldn't Brandon just say it was Adonalsium if it's Adonalsium? But I don't really know on this one.
Notably, the Canticleites from the Sunlit Man believe in Adonalsium, while Nomad believes in the god beyond and finds it strange that they worship a shattered god. To me at least, this indicates that in-world, Adonalsium and the god beyond are seen as separate entities.
The god beyond is fascinating to me because it's an example of a cultural universal in the Cosmere. People from across multiple worlds have heard of and some even believe in this god.
Some characters who have mentioned the god beyond are the aforementioned Nomad, Wan Shai-Lu, Dalinar, Silence Montaigne, and Lessie. It doesn't seem to be specifically tied to Yolish influence, but a belief that appears to be endemic to multiple worlds, especially Threnody. The largest source of information we have on the religious aspects of worship towards the god beyond come from Silence Montaigne in Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell. She'd purged the waystop of other reminders of Grandmother, all save the shrine to the god beyond that was set behind a locked door beside the pantry, and next to the door had once hung her grandmother's silver dagger, symbol of the old religion.
The dagger being silver may be significant, because silver plays an interesting role in the Cosmere. Unlike aluminum, which is magically inert, silver interferes with investiture and connection. Does this indicate that the god beyond is outside of Adonalsium's creation and influence, because it's, made of silver, something that interferes with his creation?
Silver doesn't work in allomancy, it can potentially kill Spren, and it can hurt and maybe even destroy Shades. Related to Silver is another group that claims to be beyond the scope of Adonalsium's creation, the Aethers. Up until relatively recently, very little was known about the Aethers. They were hinted at and referenced all the way back in Words of Radiance, but it wasn't until the Lost Metal that we got to see them in action and learn about how they work in the modern Cosmere.
I say modern Cosmere because Aethers have been lurking in the background of Cosmere Apocrypha for a very long time. They originate in an unpublished story called Aether of Night, which has been available online for many years.
How Aethers normally behave, excluding weird cases like Tress of the Emerald Sea, are as highly revered and powerful entities. You can think of them like a powerful spren that can bond to more than one person at a time. People who bond to a primal Aether become Aether-bound and are able to manipulate and grow Aether.
This bond is different from the Nahel bond in a couple of ways, the largest of which is the medium of exchange.
In the Nahel bond with a Spren, the human provides an anchor to the physical realm in exchange for access to surges. The Luhel bond is what Aethers use. This bond trades in physical matter, usually water, in exchange for access to power. There are 12, maybe 13 types of Aethers, but they claim to be outside the creation of Adonalsium. Silajana is one of the primal Aethers. They predate Adonalsium, and exist outside his power. They predate the shattering, Moonlight said. That doesn't mean they predate Adonalsium.
As you can see, even people in-universe are doubtful of this claim by the Aethers, that they exist outside of the scope and creation of Adonalsium. Interestingly enough, Brandon says that the rule about investiture being assigned doesn't apply to Aethers or Dawnshards.
Chromatic Chaos says, you said that all investiture got assigned to a shard when Adonalsium got shattered. Mm-hmm. Which investiture do the Dawnshards draw from? What about the Aethers?
Okay, Dawnshards and Aethers both predate the shattering and the rules don't apply to them.
Could this mean that the Dawnshards existed before Adonalsium came into being? I find that hard to believe because they're described as the 4 primal commands that created all things.
All their greatest applications require intent and a command. Demands on a level no person could ever manage alone. To make such commands, one must have the reasoning, the breadth of understanding of a deity. And so, the Dawnshards, the 4 primal commands that created all things. He paused. And then eventually, they were used to undo Adonalsium itself.
How could the commands that could only be made by a being like Adonalsium be outside of his creation? I think the passage in Dawnshard heavily implies that they were made by Adonalsium, not predating him. I think that this means that due to the nature of them being powerful chunks of investiture, that after they were used to kill the creator, Adonalsium, they just weren't assigned to another shard. What do you think of the God Beyond? Do you think we'll ever learn anything new about it, or is it just going to be raffled into oblivion forever? If you enjoy the Cosmere content, please subscribe. Got more of those on the way, and gotta get off this planet, so I'm gonna go find a perpendicularity. See you guys next time. I don't want to hike all the way to the Horn Eater Peaks, dude. I don't want to do that.